Hello and welcome back to my kitchen for another Teen Steam Grab and Go kit. Today we are going to be making a robotic arm using nothing but cardboard, string, and straws. So if you picked up the kit, you should have gotten one big piece of cardboard and a little piece of cardboard. I think about 6 straws. You might have gotten a little bendy straw, or you might have just gotten 6 straws in a little wrapper like that. 5 pieces of string. In various colors. It's hard to see string because it's very small. And 5 beads that look, well, I can't really get it in the camera. 5 beads that look maybe something like that if you can focus in really tight. So what you're going to need at home are a pair of scissors. Scotch tape would be best. If you don't, you can try masking tape. Masking tape would be best. If not, then you can try Scotch tape. You might have to use like a little extra tape for it because it's not quite as strong. You can use duct tape. It's just a little bit more difficult to work with. We're going to be working in some small areas with this, but duct tape would be really strong as well. All right, so now we are going to get started. All right, so the first step in this is to create a little handle for your hand. This is going to help us grip and attach the cardboard to our hand. So we're going to take this little piece here. Now cardboard, if you fold it in certain ways, it kind of folds easy. So if I tried to fold this the long way, it's not going to be very easy. Like it has like little waves in it if you look through the side. So we're going to fold it along the waves, like these little waves like this. This way it's going to wrap around our hand. Okay, we're going to do that with both sides here. So basically what I'm doing is making it so that it curves up like that, okay? You don't have to worry, I should have said you don't have to do too much on the ends. Those you want flat because we're going to tape those flat onto the cardboard. But you do want to get a good curve so that it wraps around your hand. So now that we've got it bendable, right, it's a little bit more bendy now. So now we can see how to attach it and where to attach it to onto the cardboard. So I want my wrist, I don't want my hand off the edge of the cardboard. I want my wrist, above the cardboard there. So I'm just going to place my hand roughly there, and I'm going to try see what it's like if I wrap this. Now I don't want to wrap this tight because I want my hand to come out. Unless you want to live with this on, which would be interesting, but I wouldn't recommend it. So so make it so that your hand comes out of this. So make it loose, that way it's, a little bit loose, not too loose, so that your hand can easily, you can easily take your hand in and out. So right now it's tight, and I wouldn't be able to get my hand out. So I'm just gonna loosen it up a little bit so I have a little bit of play, not too much. All right, so I have a pretty good idea of where I want this tape to. So now I'm just gonna grab my tape and tape a couple pieces on here. So this is pretty important. So what we're going to use about 4 pieces of tape on this. And I'm going to get a good sized piece of tape here. So I'm going to start off with my pinky side here. I'm going to line that up again and just see where that comes around. All right. So now I'm going to tape the pinky side down like so. And then I'm going to tape on the outside of it too, because I really don't want this to come off. You could use some glue if you have some crazy glue or something. You could also, for this part, you can glue parts of this down. So I'm just going to add some tape around the outside here. All right. Now I'm just going to set up my next piece of tape because I'm going to be lining this up, and I just want to make sure that I have my tape handy and easily accessible for when I need to grab it. So now I'm going to set down where it's going to go on the other side under my hand here. Make sure it's loose. Kind of try to pin it in place and just see how my hand kind of comes in and out here. So that's good. I can maybe even make it a little bit tighter. So I'm going to hold it there, see where my tape needs to go, and just pass it underneath. I'm going to hold this in place because I really don't want to lose the positioning much. It's going to move a little bit, but I don't want to I don't want it to move too much to lose the positioning. So I'm going to tape that down. All right, now I'm going to tape around the outside of that. Not too straight, but that's all right. So now I've got a little handle. So my hand is going to come in here like this. Well, mine's a little loose, but that's good. So see, it doesn't just fall off. I have like, it's pretty good on there. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start adding some pieces of the straw and the string, and I'm going to create little fingers using the straws on this. So I'm going to start off with my pinky first. Oh yeah, this is my right hand. You can do this with your left hand. Actually, I made a right-handed one at work, so I think I'm going to use the left-handed one for this video. So I'm going to start off with my pinky first. So you can take your straws. If you have the bendable straws, you can actually just cut it over the bendable part. Believe it or not, you don't want the bendable part for this, even though we're going to make our fingers bend, plastic finger bending things, but you want to cut that part off right now. So I'm going to cut that off, which gives me two little pieces of straw here. So I'm going to set one piece up. I'm going to use a short piece and then a long piece. So the short piece is I'll show you, will help guide the string, and then the long piece is going to hang off at the end here, and that's going to be my finger. I'm going to show you how to use the string to make that bend. But right now I'm just going to focus on the short piece here and lining it up. Oops, I was going to do wrong hand. See, I just want to do everything with my right hand. I'm going to line it up here by my pinky. I'm going to put it, let's see, right about here. So it's going to go a little bit past my pinky. I don't want it like right next to it. So I don't want it there. I want it maybe about here. So you've got about an inch and a half around it. I'm going to take a little piece of tape here, and I'm going to wrap the tape around so that it's almost all the way around, because this is a round straw, so I want to get this to really hold, so I want to make sure that I get the tape almost all the way around, so that when I tape it on in place, it's got a good amount of tape touching the cardboard, and that's going to keep it from moving. So if you, I don't know if you can see it, but it's like, you know, like you can really tell that the tape here is wrapping around my straw. So that's what I want there. So now on to our bendy finger. So we are going to tape this onto the end here like so, but before we do that, we have to create a kind of like a joint, right? So like our fingers bend in two places. If your finger bends, my finger bends here and here. So that gives it, you know, kind of like the hook, and that's what we're going for with this. So we're going to create two joints in our little straw here so that we can grab, all right? So to start off, I'm just going to get a kind of like an idea of where it is. So I want a good about an inch of the straw on the cardboard here, just to make sure that it's like secure when I tape it onto the cardboard. And then I'm just going to give it like two little bends to give it two kind of those like finger joints, right? Like that. So it's got like two of those little like finger joints, and I'm going to bend it back and forth. This is more so that I can see where the bends are. Like you can't see in the camera, but I have like a little bit of a fold now. So I'm going to take my scissor where that fold is, and I'm going to cut. I don't want to cut all the way through. Hint, hint, that's why I gave you 6. Because you only need 5. But I gave you 6 just in case you cut all the way through. You don't want to cut all the way through. You want to cut halfway through, maybe a little bit more than halfway through. This way. So that it kind of bends like this, right? So it looks like the top one's not bending, so I definitely need to cut a little bit more on the top. This first little finger joint here. I'm not too happy with my cuts, but that'll work. Alright, so now I'm just going to open up one here, so that it's like that. So now what I need to do, so this is actually, it's not going to bend this way, it's actually going to bend this way. But to do that, I have to get rid of this excess plastic in the straw here where that joint is. Otherwise, it's gonna be really difficult for it to fold in on itself. So to do that, I'm gonna open it up, and now I can see how much excess plastic there is. So I'm just gonna kind of cut like a little triangle piece here. Now, this is gonna take a while to do all, well, mainly the 4, because it's 4 and then your thumb. The thumb's a little bit different, so this is going to take a while to do all these. So I'm just going to cut 2 little pieces here off to open up so that there's no plastic like in the way there. So now if I bend it, it bends off camera. It bends a lot easier now. And that's what you want. You want something that bends really, really easy. See, if I try to do the top one, it doesn't even bend. The bottom one, boing, 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 like that. So now I'm going to do the same thing with the top one. Just cut off a couple little pieces here. So it should look like you cut off like a little diamond shape. I'll try to focus in and show you what I have. All right. So if you look at it, it's like 2 little diamonds kind of cut out there. All right, so now I'm going to tape this on. Same thing, I'm going to put the tape on first on the bottom here. Actually, I want to see how much this I want on the bottom so I know where my tape should go. All right. So I'm going to tape it around a bit, and then I'm going to tape it on. So make sure that you tape it so that these little diamonds are facing up. That way your finger will bend the correct direction. If you face it backwards, this is not gonna work, and you're gonna be like, what did I do? The librarian lied to me. I don't want, and I'm not lying to you. I wouldn't do that. I mean, not, on a video that my boss can see at least. So I had a little excess, so I'm just gonna kind of wrap this around. All right, so now, yeah, I got a pinky finger, and it bends. So the next part for this, so with your string, I forgot to say before, just test the, just check the lengths of your string. If you have one length of string that's longer than the others, set that one aside, because that you'll use for your thumb. The thumb you want to have your longest string for, and you'll see why in a little bit. So you're going to take one piece of string here, and you're going to create a loop. Now this loop is you want your pinky to you want this to loop around and tie this around your pinky, but you don't want it really tight. You want your pinky to become, to be able to put your pinky in it and take it out easily. You don't want it where it's like tight and you're never going to get it off and it's cutting off circulation to your finger and your finger turns blue and then you got to go to the hospital. Like, you don't want that, okay? So to do that, I just I get about a length of this. I know it's kind of hard to see, and I just tie it around here. So I don't tie it too tight at first because I want to, of course, check just to make sure. So I have like a loosely done knot. It looks like my pinky can come in and out of this easily. So that's good. Now I'm going to just tie that knot a little bit tighter. All right, and now I've got my first little loop. So now the other end I'm going to take and I'm going to feed this through my straws. So I'm going to push it through the bottom straw here. So going through the top straw, because you have these open, your little finger joints here, it could push up through. So just be careful when you're putting it through to make sure that it's not doing that. So I'm going to feed this all the way through. I'll try to do this way. So now, naturally, I do not want to pull this all the way through because I need to leave my loop at the end here. We have to measure that in a little bit. You should have, if you have a little excess string, you can cut that off at the end. But for now, you're going to leave, you're not measuring yet, but just leave that open at the end there. And now we're going to take our first bead, and we're going to push the string through that first bead, roughly to about the top, and then we're just going to circle around and bring it through again. This will give us a little bit of resistance and tension, just that we can figure out where to set this bead. So I'm going to put my hand back in, going to put my pinky in here, and I'm just going to see what happens. Now I'm going to hold the bead there and I'm going to pull my pinky, and look at that, it bends. Good thing I used an orange bead because it's easier to see on this screen here. Alright, so I have a good idea where I want this bead to be, and the finger joint, the finger works. I think I want to just push this bead down a little bit more. Alright, so I'm going to set it up there. So, and now we're just going to keep, you can kind of pull it through again a little bit. You don't want to lose your loop at the end, but just have enough to kind of work with here. So we're going to just tie this around. I'm going to do like another loop. So the string that I gave you is has wax on it, which is really good because it makes it like movable but not too movable. So I'm just going to do a couple passes through this way. I have no idea if you can see through my fingers here. Do a couple passes, and then I'm going to come around the bottom and tie one knot. I want to make sure that this is nice and tight and at the bottom. And then I'm just going to tie one more knot at the bottom. The other thing is that the string is thick enough that with a little bit of difficulty, you can, oh, I lost my, alright, I gotta push this through, I lost my loop. You can undo the knots. So now I'm going to test out my pinky. I'm going to put my hand through, loop my pinky through this hole, and hopefully I line this up correctly, and now I'm going to pull it and release it. I'm going to pull and release, and you can see that it moves kind of like a finger. Alright, so I got my first one done. So now I'm going to do the other four in the same vein. Just as you're doing these, your straws are not going to be all in a line, because your hand, you know, like your fingers, like your pinky is like set back from the rest of your hand. So this is going to look a little bit like that. So my next one, because my pinky's here, you know, if I put this one here, it's going to be on my finger, right? So this one I'm going to set up just to like kind of create that space, and I'm going to do that with the other fingers as well. So I'm going to set this one here, and get this one taped on. Let's see. Now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to measure this here. So with this, you do want the ends to be even, and you want the joint in roughly the same spot. That's just how robots work, I guess. So I'm going to do the same thing, bend it back and forth, just that I get a little bit of a crease, but I can sort of see where I want to bend. It's very hard to see, especially with the white straws. The clear straws can be a little bit easier, but I have enough of a crease there that I can make my little cuts. Remember, do not cut all the way through the straw. And do your mom a favor, or your parents or guardians a favor, and don't leave a mess of plastic around. Make sure that you do this carefully enough. Ooh, see, this is why I gave you all an extra straw. So this one might be a little bit, actually no, that's okay. No, I don't know. Well, I'm going to keep going with it, but this one I cut a little bit too much, I think, and it's a little, doesn't have a whole lot of structural integrity to it. Again, so I want to try to line this up with this straw here, and so that it's about equal with the straw that's already on there. And now I'll do a little test run, wrapping the loop around this finger, holding my bead in place, and let's see what happens. Ooh, look at that. This one does not work. See, the second joint is not closing. You know why? Because this first joint is so loose, or maybe it's just the positioning. Hold on a second. This is not good. I found a problem. I think I cut that first joint like too loose, and now it's not. Yeah, so that the first joint isn't bending. All right, so that is what not to do. I hope you learned your lesson, as I have. So I'm going to have to undo this and use that extra straw that I gave everybody. That's why I gave you extra straws. Good thing I thought ahead on that one. And that's also why we're using tape. Because mistakes happen and nothing needs to be permanent. But don't throw the straw away. You could actually use some of this for the thumb. So I'm going to keep this straw on the side and use it for my thumb for now, or use it for my thumb later. The tape is actually still pretty good. So I'm just going to use a different straw. I had one cut up here. All right, and I got a bend. That's about, yeah, I got that about right. I do want to bring my bead in just a little bit. There it is. Uh-oh, I crossed my fingers. All right, well, I did something wrong with my cuts or something happened, but I crossed my fingers, but whatever. They work. I'll worry about that a little bit later. So now I'm going to keep going and do my other two fingers. So I'm going to stop talking and just speed up through the video because you see me do this twice. You don't have to follow through again and again and again, listening to me say the same thing over and over again. Okay, so I've done all 4 fingers, so now I'm just going to give it a shot. I'm going to loop my fingers through each one. And pull. Look at that. I think I crossed some of my fingers, but whatever, it works. Alright, so next up we are going to do the thumb. Now the thumb is going to be a little bit trickier because the string actually comes around through the back. You're going to grab the string is going to come over your thumb here, through the back, up to here, and then kind of come over here. So that's why we have extra straw pieces, because to work all of that in. So to get started, I am going to, well, let's just make the loop with a string first. That way we can start kind of seeing where we need the string to go. So let's make ourselves a loop. Oh, I was going to say, if you had any trouble with the finger movements, one thing that I usually get wrong, which gives me problems, is that hold on a second, I'm trying to talk and do this at the same time, not a good combo, is that I didn't cut enough space in between for the straw to bend. So if you have a finger that doesn't bend for some reason, like one of these that just doesn't bend, just look, maybe the original cut, like across the half of it, needs to be a little bit deeper, and maybe you just need to open up that little diamond shape a little bit to give yourself a little bit more, so that there's less material to block it from moving. That's usually what happens, is it's usually something blocking it from moving. Alright, so now I'm going to look at my thumb. Now my fingers are here, so I want my thumb to be sort of like this. So my thumb is going to come across here. So I'm going to want to bring my thumb I'm going to want to bring here. So I want my string to feed through a guide around here to get my thumb. So what I'm going to do is just kind of give myself an idea of where I want the string to go through, which is roughly about here. I'm going to take a little piece. So remember those ones that I cut up earlier? Ooh, I ran out of straw. I made a bunch of little mistakes. So just find like a little piece of straw, like something, and then we're going to tape the first one on at an angle. So if I want my string to come through about here, I want to tape this on at about an angle over here. Now I also want to see where I want my thumb to come. I think this one might work. All right. So I'm going to want my thumb to come off like, around here-ish. Let's see, that one's a little bit longer. So maybe here-ish. So I have an idea. I'm just going to tape that on lightly. So now I just want another small piece of straw. This one might be a little bit long. I'm just going to cut a little bit off of this one. So I want a little small piece of straw to come in, just so that I get my string to kind of feed through. So I'm going to find another little piece of tape. I have to cut up a few more pieces of tape and just create something like a little track for this string to follow through. And so I can feed this through this piece here. And now I want my thumb about here, so this is good. I just need to tape it on a little bit better. Actually, that's not quite where I want it, but it's close. I'm just going to adjust it a little bit here. I want it to come up just a little bit. tape the thumb, finish taping my thumb on. And now, since this was a piece that I cut earlier, so I already have my little joints, but you want to do the same. You don't need 2 joints really with the thumb, you only need the 1. But like I said, this was the mistake that I made earlier, so I'm just going to reuse this because I actually ran out of straws. I'm going to give everybody an extra straw because I ran out of straws. Well, I was also rushing. So one thing is, don't rush through this because you're going to make mistakes when you rush. That's just going to happen. Alright. So now I can see a little bit now what's going on here. Getting a little closer to where I want things to be. So now let me just test this. So I'm going to put my thumb in. Oh, the second joint is not moving. Well, that's alright. I really only need 1 joint for the thumb. Let me just test something because I feel like the second joint is not moving because I have too much plastic around here. That's usually why. The plastic acts as like a little blockage. So if I clear that, I should be in a little bit better position. Let's try again. No, I think this first joint is just so loose that I'm not getting tension for the second joint to move. That's alright. You don't need, if you want to have 2 joints for the thumb, that's fine. If not, it's a thumb. You only have 1 little joint in your thumb, so you don't really need 2. So now let me just tie this on again, or tie this on for the first time. This one I did not make a mistake on. Perfect. That works. Now I'm going to try all of them together. So I'm going to put all of my fingers in. And let's see, I can almost grab something. Alright, so there is your robotic hand. Again, I ran out of straws. I wish I could do my thumb better. You might want to play with the thumb. I kind of did this at an angle. Now that I see it, I can actually move this, maybe move this, but I might want it to go across more and not so much at an angle. That might give me better kind of grip when everything's here and the thumb comes across. But that's your robotic hand. I hope that you had fun with this. Can I get the camera on me? Nope. Alright, so I hope you had fun with this. Please take pictures, play around with it, see what you can do to make this work, and how to make it work better than what I did here. This was just my attempt at making this. So please send us photos, videos, whatever of you making this, hashtag NotTheEdgeWPPL if you're on social media. And I'll see you in another month with another Team Steam Grab and Go kit.